A very good evening, dear faculty members, and welcome to today's faculty learning program by Business Standard in association with Great Learning, titled The Future of Online Teaching in India, Challenges and Solutions. We have on board very distinguished panelists, and it is an honor to me to introduce them to you. All of them have excelled in their field and have contributed immensely towards nation building. Their profile runs into pages, but I'll briefly speak about them as they have advised to me not to speak much. Arjun Nair, the co-founder at Great Learning, India's leading tech platform to working professionals, where he is responsible for creating new businesses opportunities, growth, and operations. Arjun has been part of the leadership at a number of venture capital funded startups in the US and in India. Prior to Great Learning, he headed strategic initiatives at Jibdial, which was acquired by Twitter. Arjun completed his MBA at MIT Ceylon, and where he received the prestigious Letagame Fellowship Award to Entrepreneurs for Emerging Markets. He received an MS from Duke University and has worked with Siemens Healthcare on building products for personalized medicine. He will be moderating our webinar today. We are grateful to have you, sir. Thank you very much to our request and consenting to moderate the show. Dr. Preeti Saxena, Director, IBS Mumbai, a dual postgraduate holding a master's degree in science from Gujarat University and marketing management from NMIMS, PhD in advertising and consumer behavior from SNDT University, Mumbai, worked with the FMCG industry for 16 years. Recipient of prestigious Devang Mehta Award for Best Teacher in Marketing Management, Star News Award for Best Professor Teaching Advertisement Management, and Best Faculty Award for her contribution to Institute's development at IBS Mumbai. We are grateful to have you, ma'am, on board. Thank you for consenting to be the panelist for this show. Dr. C.S. Sundar, a teacher, researcher, and highly skilled professional with more than 22 years of experience by managing all facets of the educational institutions. Proven ability to lead with strong communication skills, currently working as Dean, Science and Humanities, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Parampur, Chennai. He is a specialist in conducting a lot of personality development programs for engineering and management students. He is always a promising resource person and dynamic as a reviewer to service professional journals. His academic qualification is MBA, MPhil, and PhD. We are grateful to have you, sir, on board. Thank you for consenting to be the panelist. Dr. Biplab Kumar Biswal. Dr. Biplab Kumar Biswal has been a dynamic manager with widespread experience of about 25 years in corporate and academics, spearheading research projects, business operations. Currently, Dr. Biswal is holding the portfolio of Director of Kirloskar Institute of Advanced Management Studies and also an independent director in the board of Kirloskar Chillers. Dr. Biswal is a PhD in Marketing Management from KIIT University, Bhubaneswar. He is a member of Red Cross and life member of Indian Economic Association. We are grateful to have you, sir, on board. Thank you for your consent to be one of the panelists. And finally, we have Dr. Parag Kalkar, Dean, Faculty of Commerce and Management, Member of Management Council, Member Academic Council, Member Senate at Savitribai Phule University, Pune. He has served as the director of Sugar Institute of Management and has over 25 years of teaching experience. He has published 31 research papers in national and international research journalism and authored and co-authored 14 books. We are grateful to have you, sir, on board. Thank you for your consent to be on the panelist. Before I ask the moderator to take over, requesting you all to write all your questions in Q&A box as and when you come across them. They will be addressed at the end of the session. If you want any specific panelist to answer, please address the question to him in the Q&A box. Thank you very much for your awesome presence and wishing you all a delightful session. Thank you very much, and over to you, Arjun, sir.
Thank you to Business Standards. Thank you to all my esteemed panelists. It's wonderful to see you all. I've had the pleasure to speak to you as well in the last couple of days. Welcome to all the members of the audience. Of all of you are faculty members from several institutions from around the country. Right at the onset, let me wish you a warm welcome and also hope that all your students as well as your family members are all safe considering the current crisis that's going on. So today we have an excellent session planned for you. Let me briefly talk about Great Learning as well as the reason why we thought that this session is important. So number one, Great Learning is one of the largest edtech companies in India. We've been offering courses in areas such as AI, machine learning, data science to students. And we've been doing this using a very robust technology platform that we've built over the last 7 years. And we offer this in collaboration with universities such as Stanford, UT Austin. Now we have a course with IIT Madras, with Great Lakes Institute of Management, several colleges and universities from around the country, with the idea of providing high quality education to students as well as working professionals. Now, while we were doing this, the platform, as I talked about earlier, which is built in-house, we realized that when the crisis started, there is a need for our colleges and universities to also have the capability, the technology capability to provide classes online. And when we talk about classes, it's not just about live lecture, but end-to-end operational support to create outcomes. And in order to do that, there was a need for a technology platform. So we offered our platform, which allows faculty to conduct live classes, schedule in advance, get feedback, do proctored examinations, and many more features. And as we were doing that, I had the pleasure to interact with several faculty members, deans, HODs, principals, chancellors, and so on over the last few months. And while we were having these conversations, especially the newer colleges, the smaller ones who are getting started, had a lot of apprehension and questions around what are the challenges, what are the best practices, how do we get started? So today, that's what we'll talk about. The panelists here have all had the opportunity to do this already. So they've done it at their institutions, at their departments. They themselves have been great teachers online. So we will share, we learn from their collective wisdom as to how to do this correctly and what are some potential challenges and pitfalls and how do we avoid them? How do we ensure that we are able to deliver high quality learning experiences online? So that's the context. With that, let's get started. So now this is the way we will do it is that the first 20 minutes or so, we will talk about from each of the panel members. I'd like to hear about their unique experience of moving online. What are the key and important considerations for effective online teaching and delivery? And what have they done in order to ensure that this happens very well? What are the technology components that are needed, which are must-haves? And today there's also a lot of confusion around folks coming and saying that you need to get this, you need to get that. So what are things that are not really needed, but of course, if it is there, it's good, right? So we'll go in a systematic order. So each faculty member, it'll be great if you could give your perspective on these aspects. We'll start with Dr. Parag Kalkar. It'll be great, sir, if you could talk a little bit about your experience in setting up for success with online delivery.
Thank you, Arjun, and thank you, Business Standard, for this opportunity. I think when the sudden lockdown has been announced, I think we are a state university, which is Savitribai Phule Pune University, having almost 8 lakh students across 3 districts. So we are affiliated colleges who are running the courses from graduation to post-graduation and PhD program. So the sudden lockdown has created certain setback for all of us because the colleges ranges from the metro cities like Pune, Nagar and Nashik, and then some tribal areas around that. So they're spread across all these things. And for the undergraduate program, I think the curriculum was over and the exam was just started. 2-3 sessions were over. But for the postgraduate program, I think the one month was a lagging time because yet 20-30% of the portion was supposed to be covered. So the first thing what we have done at the Savitribai Phule Pune University is we have that EMR RCF UGC hosted in our campus. So whatever material the faculty was having, existing material, we have created a web portal, web link, and all this material, videos and e-content were put on the website. And then we have requested all faculty members to conduct classes online with a short training to cover up the remaining syllabus. That is the first thing we have done. Because, I don't know, the exam has still been stalled and we don't have an answer how to conduct the examination. But this step 1 we have done. The step 2 what we have done is the kind of curricula which we have requested all faculty members to map with the existing courses which available online like Swayam portal or NPTEL courses or any other similar platform, they have running some of the courses. So they have been requested to map the existing courses with the online courses which are available. And the gap is they have to find out that the target at our university, we have decided that at least 40% curricula will be having the online teaching learning process. That is the target which we have planned in the month of April and June. So 20% of the additional content were asked to be prepared by the faculty members. Here there are two things we were not gone into the details. The Moodle training was given to the faculty members or the whatever online platform which are available. The training was given. Our idea is not prescribing a platform or giving them training on a particular thing. As a university, every college, every institution is free to choose their platform for the student available. What we have done is we have created a team in our university which is going to help and which has already started the two things. First is content. I think every faculty is having their own content, but enrichment of that content, because when you're going online, you cannot have a classes for 6 hours in a row. Student will get bored, their battery will get exhausted, they may not have that much bandwidth which is available to them. Otherwise, looking at the screen, you may have eye issues and so many other problems may arise. And they may have it's not one student in the family, they may have few more students. So if they have a one tab, I think the time sharing also is required. So how a 100-minute session or 1.5 hour session can be reduced to 30 to 35 minutes. I think that kind of training which we have conducted. And engagement is also important, I think. When student is at his home, I think the mother is cooking food, other siblings are there, the television is on, and so many things are happening around us. He may be sitting in a sofa and having a good food or something like that. So the concentration of the span of action was also required. So I think the two things we have tried to give it to the faculty. The first thing is enrichment of the course content which they have, crisping them using the tools which are very easy tools. If you create a video of 800 MB, I think downloading that video will be very difficult. So how you can crisp the tools, so how you can use all these things, then how you can engage student very creatively. I think that kind of training we have already conducted, that we call as a hand holding, because we cannot go and change their content, because the number of faculty we have in Savitribai Phule Pune University is close to 5,000. So it's very difficult to go and check the content. So through every board of studies, every faculty, I think we have tried to enrich how they can use this enriched material. And as a policy of the university, we'll be hosting all this material which is approved, screened. There is no copy paste or there is no breach of copyright, as we'll be hosting on the web portal. That is the one thing we have done. So handholding was very important. We have requested all teachers to try using this kind of online platforms and see that they're comfortable, their students are comfortable, and see that the teaching learning becomes on. I think that was the first thing which we have already done with so many things, that how to design curricula, how to deliver curricula, and how to evaluate. I think these three components there also. So I think in this first part, I think this is an idea which we have worked for the last 2-3 months, making them comfortable with the various technologies they have and making them comfortable with the students also. It's not because some student may not have that kind of bandwidth or technology savvy. Thank you. Arjun?
Yeah, I was muted. So thank you, Professor Kalkar. That was very insightful as to how to get started, and I'm sure that will spark some ideas. In fact, as I said earlier, the platform that we've made now available open is called Olympus Digital Campus, and we've also been doing a lot of training for faculty members to get comfortable in using technology to deliver classes online. So let's go to the next question. Dr. Saxena, this one is for you. We've had a very exciting conversation yesterday, and when we were having that conversation, you said that there are other issues. So of course, as we said, we have to transition online, but there are several other challenges while delivering an online class. And technology is one aspect, but there are other challenges. In fact, you put it very nicely when you said, there is this dark side of teaching and delivery, right? So can you talk a little bit more about what that is and how educating students as well as the faculty is important in areas such as cybercrime? Also, can you talk a little bit, everybody talks about this, especially around, tracking engagement, tracking attendance, ensuring discipline. Now, there is a methodology for doing this in the class, but how do you do this online? So what are your perspectives on how to do this? Could you talk a little bit more about what you did to set this up correctly?
Yeah, sure, Arjun. I wouldn't call myself or, that, we have arrived at an expertise of handling it. But definitely, see, when the student was consuming online, online consumption was more for fun and entertainment. It was more for, his, he was doing it at his free will. He wasn't using it as a learning platform or something that he had to learn and write an exam. And the moment there was this element of writing an exam after this, all kinds of, the demerits of technology was something that the student began to realize. So there was a big challenge right from the resistance in terms of the duration of hours and, sitting in front of the screen in a disciplined manner was a big question. So all the distractions of a home, there is a TV that is going on side by side. There is a sibling there. There could be a pet, and all kinds of. They wouldn't even be formally dressed. So the first thing that we asked the students was, in the beginning, we asked them to introduce themselves through a video. Okay, so the first day it was, and anyone who was not formally dressed was removed out of the class and was told that he cannot take the class that day. So he has to come formally dressed for the class. And when he is in the class, he needs to be following a certain discipline. And it was like, would they accept if the faculty did not come that well dressed, And the faculty was also in their own private environment. And so if the faculty could, in their private environment, be that, why couldn't the students be, And then there were all kinds of things, that they could, maybe they were experimenting or they were learning. So right from the annotations to the kind of messages that they could put in the chat box. Now, in order to make the class interactive, you had to enable all these things, but when you saw that there is a misuse happening, or when the students would start chatting with each other and sending, absurd messages to each other, and there could be offensive messages which would affect somebody. And we didn't want, that this thing would grow. So right from the logs, that were checked and the, who is the one, and then going to the extent, that no, you need to remove that person out at least for a week. And take the parents into confidence, talk to the parents, tell them that this is the misbehavior, and how would we, how would you expect somebody else to be tolerant of that? Suppose if the same thing was happening to their boy, would they be tolerant to it? So how can you write these messages to somebody else in the class? So the parents were taken into confidence, and so some discipline had to come there. And then we also realized that I think this is the time where the students need to be educated. So it's not just, it's not just that they are learning, the cognitive building is happening for the concept and the domain knowledge. There is also a discipline that needs to come into it, because this is the life that you are going to be facing 2 years from now. I mean, you step out from here and the organizations will expect discipline. The organizations are much more conservative than what institutions are, so they may appear to be the thing, but there are organizations where you can't use the social media, you can't write anything, and you cannot use the identity of the organization when you are on those platforms. So when the organizations are having such strict discipline, it had to start from here. So we even gotten people from, the cyber police kind of thing to come and educate students and tell them, what can be objectionable, or what can be, something that can be offensive, or it can be sensitive, and they need to take care of that, because ultimately they are coming here to learn and not. However, we want to replicate the ecosystem of a campus environment, for them as far as possible. So then definitely we also realize that the students need to be taken from the education, the timetable and the classes can be immediately start with some kind of student activities, so we
Easy.
started engaging them in the evenings, and every for the last 20-21 days, every evening there is a club that's putting an event, so there's a club that puts an event, and the students have got busy. So now they are more on to showcasing their talent, whatever is their capability, whatever they have, and fortunately, what has happened, the second year students have now started acting as buddies, and they have taken charge of the first year students. And automatically, there is some kind of, discipline that has come, because now they are being handheld not just by the faculty, but by the student buddies of the same. So it was, we had to act very fast on all these things. We had to arrest the problems. The timetable had to progress, and we definitely want that, we roll out our first midterm exams in the first week of August. So that's yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Saxena. I think you had some trouble with the audio, so maybe I think next time I think you might want. I don't know if there's anything that you can do, but the audio was cracking a little bit. Just letting you know
okay.
that.
Okay.
So, Dr. Sundar, I think can you also talk a little bit about your experience in shifting to online learning? What are some best practices? How did you make this transition? What are some learnings that you may want to share with the audience? Any unique challenges, unique innovations that were done in your institute, in your department?
So thanks to Faculty Learning and Business Standard, dear moderator, distinguished fellow panelists, and most esteemed faculty and audience. So I feel honored to be the part of today's webinar series, The Future of Online Education in India, Challenges and Solution. So I'm representing from SRM IST, Chennai. So online education is not the new normal to SRM, it's an old normal. So 5 years back itself, we had deliberate discussion about disruption in higher education sector. So we already thought that in future, artificial augmented reality and virtual reality is going to impact more on higher education. So this kind of a discussion happened, and slowly we are migrating towards online kind of education 5 years back itself. So we already using of a blended learning approach, 20% online and 80% offline classroom teaching. So our faculty are trained over taking classes of online. Past 5 years they are taking, and we used to have all kinds of assessment and like conducting of online quizzes and online case study analysis. So our students also got oriented related to online kind of education. So the thing is, after central government announced the national lockdown March 25th, so we have only 1 week setback, and again from the April 1 we started our academic activity, and almost the staff are taken classes through video lectures and digital platform, and we completed our syllabus, and we also completed our examination. So I am proud to announce that we also declare result, and because a lot of final year students, they are facing difficulty in getting of employment. They got employment. So still the examination is pending. Now few companies are insisting over the final year student to take up the job offer. So we conducted online examination, online assessment, and the result also declared. So they also receive, even they receive the provisional certificate. So they're ready to take up on board in the company where they are selected. So this is a way where SRM, so we got used to that of online kind of teaching as well as education. So like the thing is already the two panel member, they rightly pointed out the physical environment where, so while we are taking classes, where the students are sitting, and the way of dress code and the background of the area. So I request these kind of faculty learning, great learning, education, technology companies. So you have to come out with a product or services. So whenever there is a student log in, so immediately we have to create some virtual classroom setup, the actual classroom setup. So we have to mean that whatever the background the students are sitting, but as a faculty, we should view the exact classroom setup. So such kind of product, if you created, it will be well accepted. It's a need of the hour. So this is the one where it's beyond the control. So you repeatedly we are insisting, and we are informing to the student. few student they have that own way of doing things, and so the way, and it's not acceptable. So what the background as well as the dress code, it is not acceptable. But the thing is, we are not have that much of control. But anyway, we are dealing with higher education student. It's not in a school education. But anyway, so now that a disruption in higher education, definitely it will going to happen after 5 years. But anyway, so we already proactive, and so we already used to that. And periodically we are giving a training to our faculty member, and we are faculty also used to that. Our student also used to that. So we are here, we are insisting our faculty and student to take up online courses as a compulsory. So not only for the faculty, even students, they have to take up one online courses per semester. So viewing a video lectures and used to that of online kind of learning, it's not new. It's an already they are used to that. So in that way, this kind of pandemic situation, we are not faced that kind of impact. The one area where we faced issue is the online assessment this time. So because previously we used to have offline like pen and paper, and we used to set the question paper like descriptive. So Bloom's taxonomy, we used to set the question paper. But here we could not able to move in such kind of conduct of examination. We'll move to MCQ, so multiple choice question. So that is a one way, and through proctored conducting of examination. So again, that way we are face some kind of challenge, because we are students are not used to that proctored kind of examination. So we are not enough time to give oriented training to the student. But anyway, in future, so this kind of education technology company, with the help and support of this kind of edutech company, so we can orient the student, and we can prepare ourselves to face any kind of pandemic or any kind of challenges happen in the future. But here, even one step forward, even for laboratory session, so we already have e-labs. For all computer science, we have e-labs. So virtual labs, a student will also do the practical session through the virtual. So again, for add-on to that, even for mechanical or EEE or even physics, chemistry laboratory, now we assigned our faculty. So they have to do the experiment, they have to record, and recorded, the experiment should be recorded. Even we are going for virtual conduct of laboratory. So this core branch and circuit branch and all other, we are planning to have virtual laboratory. So that kind of high-end and advanced way we are actively working, our faculty member. So even our lab assistant, we are giving training to our lab assistant to cope up with this kind of challenge and this kind of advancement. So this way, but my request to Arjun Nair is you have to develop some kind of product. So where the students, once the students is log in, so it should be, as a faculty, we should view this classroom kind of setup. It's like rows and the way of desk, they have to be seated. We have to take class as a class, but it should be in a virtual. So if you move to that kind of innovations, definitely, so we can avoid a lot of consequence and a lot of other things. So even faculty will be motivated to take class very effectively. So that will be, you are doing some kind of service and honor to the faculty community. So will be much more. But anyway, in India, there is a lot of scope for online education. So once the industry is recognized this kind of online teaching or online education, so the employers are recognized the degree of online education, then a lot of revolution is going to be happen in the future. So anyway, so next session I will try to explain some more point regarding of this kind of a pandemic and future, how that higher education will going to be happen in the future. But anyway, so we are as a teacher, skilling and upskilling is norms of the day. So we cannot say that only the junior have to learn and the senior can't learn. So if you are not learn, you cannot upskill yourself, definitely will be out of the market.
Yes.
So anyway, so we have 22 years of experience, still we treat ourselves as a junior, and we start our career, we are learning a lot of new things. So even we are learning a lot of new things from the student community itself. So such kind of attitude and behavioral model if we have, so definitely in future, all millennial students, they are very much tech savvy. So immediately they are switching over to the technology, not at all an issue. So whatever the technology we are implementing, still we are facing some kind of struggle, but student, they move to the advanced technology.
Yeah.
So anyway, sir, we are doing well, and so we are line, and probably August first week, we are planning to start the next academic year through online. So once we get the notification from the government authorities, then we'll go by the offline class.
Sounds good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Sundar. That was a great context that you set, and it's great to know that in SRM, so much of technology is there and such progress has been made. And I think you raised a very good point about faculty members themselves changing their mindset and orientation and having to now look at this as new learners.
Yes.
With that, Dr. Biswal, we also had a wonderful conversation a couple of days back about the use of technology as well as getting started with online teaching and delivery, and you've had a long experience in doing this. Could you talk a little bit about how you made this transition, how the institute made this transition, and what are some best practices?
Yeah, exactly. As we discussed, first of all, when you have to go online in teaching, the first thing you have to get over is your mental block. That was the biggest challenge. And for us at Kirloskars, it was unplanned, because when initially we started, we were stuck with a batch inside the campus. So we didn't feel like we need any online tools. Students are already in the campus. So if the pandemic situation doesn't improve, also, we will teach them in the classroom. But then what happened, the time span got elongated so long, that which we never expected. Anytime when this kind of thing happens, as a normal human being, you think a month or two, things will normalize. Then we gradually started realizing, no, we have to shift to an online platform, because if also the second year students are in the campus, the first year student will be impossible for them to come on board. So how to find out the first thing is we went through a series of training programs of the faculties, conditioning them. It's not about senior and junior, as Professor Sundar said. It's about having an adaptable mindset, whether I'm ready to learn, unlearn, and then relearn things. That becomes a problem. So I found in my team, a lot of senior faculties were very comfortable, but a lot of junior faculties were not. So it all depends on whether change is something which everybody resists, but we forget that change is the only thing which is constant. So first, we had to understand the nuances of online teaching. So one of my faculty members was smart enough that what he did is, he started promoting Coursera courses, because those were free those days, and told everybody, you should now, because you are idle, sitting at your exam was over, it's free time, you go through Coursera courses. The basic intention behind that is to understand, when we give a free environment to the student through online teaching platform, how they behave. And it really gave very good insights. Without going through, if you go through Coursera, they have this academic involvement. You have to go through the video, learn it, and then apply the examination and get certified. Now, the problem with this generation is, even maybe as students, we were also that fickle, that we are more interested in the certificate than that of knowledge. Like if we go back to our schools also, in our case also, maybe we were more concerned about how much percentage I secure and how much, what knowledge I gather. So the first focus, what happened, they started getting certifications rather than gaining knowledge. So we understand the first nuance, because if you give an uncontrolled thing, they will only be bothered about the testing pattern. So, at the end of the test, it so happened, I will give a very beautiful example. Few of my students in 7 days got 47 certifications on professor. Right. So, and when we called and asked them, how could you do this? And they boasted, no, we are genius enough to do this. So, the faculty find it out and not able to answer. Then we have shown them the logs. That see, your study log is 0. And I very well know what you have done. You have directly gone to the examination, opened another browser in Google, typed the question there, got the answer and got certified. That's a big nuance, if you ask. Because once you go online, you are physically not having the student, then the student will only be bothered about how you are going to evaluate him or her and how he will surpass that particular stage. In that, what happened, then we got into the plugin mode. So when we started classes, we started applying plugins through which they cannot use browsers when you were testing them. So that started working. Luckily, we were already a Google Suite member, and we were having Microsoft team also with us. So that helped us. So we exposed our faculties to all the both the means. They started using whoever is comfortable with. You know, it's like handling Android or OS. Apple iOS. So whoever is comfortable with anything, they started doing it. But here I see there is a huge scope for companies like you, because as Professor Sundar was saying, you know, we Indian teachers, we have our own expectations of looking at the class in our own way. So you can really customize it for us. Whether it is Google Classroom or it is Microsoft Team, there are scopes of improvement in both the things, then the next challenge we had is bandwidth. That is the biggest challenge. What happened? You are going to teach online. You will teach for 4 hours, 5 hours. That's fine. But how is the student accessing the class? Every student will not have a broadband connection at home. I am an institute. I am having a broadband connection, or a university has a broadband connection. But the student doesn't have a broadband connection. In most of the cases, the student is using a mobile phone. Now, mobile phone, the pack they have maybe a GB, 1 GB, 2 GB. That is the bandwidth available with them. Now, if they start attending classes continuously, we did a data check here. If you go for a full-fledged online class in 1 hour, you will consume 1 GB.
Yeah.
So in 2 hours, I don't know, you are more technically sound about that. So you can guide me. We felt that 1 hour is consuming 1 GB. So maximum the student has 2 hours a day. So initially when we started with 2 hours, only 2 classes.
Yeah.
Then we started counseling the students also, like how many mobile phones you have at home. Why don't you use your mom's phone? Why don't you use your dad's phone? Because who had bandwidth, there was not a problem. But 20-25% student had this problem, bandwidth issue.
Yeah.
So now over a period of 2-3 months, we have overcome that. Now we are having 5 to 6 classes every day. That is happening. Another interesting thing what happened with us, which is very unique. As I said, the second year was stuck inside the campus. Now when this unlock happened, starting of unlock, they started moving back to the home. So 50% of the batch was in the campus and 50% of the batch was at home. So when we started second year classes, that was a big confusion, how to teach.
Yeah.
So in the campus wanted offline classes because it's easy for them. They don't want to go to online mode, and you can understand it's a huge campus, so bandwidth is not proper everywhere. And students who are at home, they wanted online. That is where we came out with our hybrid model. You know, we started taking classes physically, simultaneously streaming it for the students. Now, again, when you start streaming in the normal video bandwidth, then it's huge. It may eat up 1 GB in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
How to control it? That was again another challenge. So what we did is we started streaming that through Google Meet or through Microsoft Teams. So that started controlling the bandwidth.
Yeah.
So these things are going on. I will not say that we have evolved, but yes, we are learning with every other day. Another challenge, like Professor Sundar said, you know, thank God I am a management college. I really wonder how the universities like Professor Kalpar, how you must be managing physics, chemistry, practicals, because that's huge challenge when it comes. In management education, maximum is maybe because we are a bit strong in analytics, the exposure to student to R or Python programming. That we started doing through remote access. So
Yeah.
we started giving remote access to our students.
Got it.
Concluding, I would like to bring to the notice of all the panel members and the attendees here. I may be wrong, but I don't think this present generation is tech savvy. They are Android savvy. It is where a big problem. You know, they are very, very comfortable when it's a phone or an Android, but when it comes to coding or when it comes to the real logic, they're not that strong. That's point number one. Point number two, I have seen that even my daughter does at home, as I was sharing with you on a lighter note. They always prefer to go on a mobile phone because if you start testing them, they can use the laptop to answer it.
Yeah.
These are challenges which are yet to find solutions. Attention is there. For in adult learning, I think we should not bother about attention. It is an issue when you are taking classes with school students. That for an adult, if he or she you when you try to test them online, that hurdle I am yet to cross, because maybe in September for the first time we will go for the online testing, and all the best to Dr. Saxena who are going in August. So that will be a tough challenge. I don't know how we will do it. We are in continuous discussion with our IT team.
Yeah.
They are saying that they can put a plugin where during the test the student cannot use the browser.
Got it. So, Dr. Bansal, just to bring back in the interest of time, there are a few specific areas I wanted to cover. So we'll just cover that and then we'll come back. So one is, I think all of you talked a lot about faculty training and about use of technology. So I just wanted to say one thing there, at least from our end at Great Learning, we are doing a lot around that. So I've shared a link here on chat if any of you are interested in this training. So large colleges and institutions like yours, there are programs around that. But if you want, we've created a course on how to teach effectively online. For some of the panel, for some of the attendees who may want to access that, please click on the chat and then you can access that. And there is also technology there that you can use to get started in teaching online. So we have another 20 minutes or so. So we want to also spend about 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes in the end, answering the questions that the attendees have. But there are some areas I also wanted to cover before we get there. So let's just run through that very quickly. Maybe each of the panel members, if you could take just a couple of minutes, not more than that, to highlight, and then we can just take the audience questions after that. Dr. Preeti, let's start with you as the first question. How do you actually track things like attendance, engagement? What do you do around those? How do you ensure that those things are happening? Is that a challenge? How are you ensuring that there is engagement in your live classes when you do these online?
Yeah, so the attendance is something which is very simple. You get the log at the end of it, but there can be situations where a student gets logged out and then again he's been admitted, So then it's a matter of discipline. What is it that you want to do? Do you want to close the class after some time, or would you want to leave it open? And then you need to know what are the duplicate entries, So the log at the end of it would definitely give you the attendance. The student engagement, what I feel is, that you have to engage the students, not just in class, but beyond class. So then there is so much of synchronous and asynchronous content which is there. The asynchronous content is definitely going to engage them beyond classroom, and the synchronous one is there for the class, for the in-class. There is a lot of submission that we insist on, which are more of project-based, which the students can do in those breakout rooms, or they can do through those WebEx kind of, the coffee table kind of rooms, or, So this is what we encourage students to come in small groups. They do the group submissions, assignments. There are projects which are to be done, which the submission is not immediate, but yes, they're given time. And that project based is something which is, for which there is time given to them, which could be lasting for a week. It could be lasting for 2 weeks, but then there are discussions that are happening. And IBS is known for the case method, and that when it comes to the case method, there has to be a lot of interaction. So sometimes those cases are assessment based, sometimes those cases are, and the way you drive a case in the class, it need not be that all students need to participate. You pre-identify that there are going to be 3, you take the case in a panel discussion style. So you take a case where, you pre-identified 4 or 5 students who are actually into a panel discussion, and then there is a whole lot of class who's been assessed, for the kind of questioning that it is doing to the panel. So in class, there is a lot of engagement, and beyond classroom, there is a lot of engagement.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Got it. No, I think you raise a couple of good points. As you said, in the class, we have to engage. And then when students are remote, you have to design assessments, quizzes, projects, so that they are continuously being engaged. And that's exactly, by the way, what we do in our Great Learning courses as well. And the technology that we've built enables the faculty, the teaching assistants, and the students to track how they are going along on those engagement activities. You can schedule all of that upfront and ensure that engagement happens. Related to that, Dr. Kalkar, especially from a from a government university's perspective, especially when there are regulatory and compliance issues, assessments is a big problem, right? Especially again thinking about, as Dr. Biswal said earlier, when you're teaching courses in physics and chemistry and all that, you can't really do, let's say you can't really, like in management subjects, for example, you can ask them to write a report and submit it. Here, you may have to do pen and paper exams. So, is there a solution to this at all, or do you think, there is no solution? We just have to wait for classes to come back. How are you viewing this?
What we have done is for the postgraduate student, I think we were doing some part of their 20% was assessment through the online examination. So this examination was done in professional courses like engineering and MBA courses, where 20% university level assessment is already done through the online MCQ type examination. But for other courses, for graduate program or for the program where the students are in large number, I think the students are not used to this MCQ type examination. So I think there is a worry. We are ready with all alternative pattern of examination, but taking into consideration the kind of bandwidth we have in even the small pockets of the cities also, it is very challenging for students to take an exam. Even we are trying with the proctor examination also, where I think for a small group it is possible, but for 1 lakh student or 50,000 student, it's very challenging to be conducted in a reliable mode. What you're talking about is we are experimenting in a campus. Our campus has 5,000 or 7,000 students. But outside campus, there are 7 lakh students. So for campus, what we are doing is using AI or machine learning, experiment, I think, augmented learning, I think we are trying to create some of we have 2 studios in a campus. So we're creating certain videos with animation, videos with kind of things which are imbibed, which help students to learn, I think. This is on trial mode. I think it will not come overnight because we were not aware that the corona is going to come. So there was some material which was ready, but it was not mapped with the syllabi as such. But I think we are trying with all, but it will take time for that. What we are encouraging in that management institute or a professional courses first is a self-learning, because as madam has rightly told that we have to go with synchronous and asynchronous. We cannot have synchronous more than 2 hours a day. But in asynchronous mode, I think for the student, we can create some videos. As experts are telling that you cannot run a video more than 7 or 9 minutes, otherwise student will get bored. So you have in between you have some quizzes, in between you have some polls, in between you have some question answer session. You can randomly choose some student name without being physical, that, oh Gopal, can you answer this question? Like that you can ask, so student become awake and then student go to the next. So learning management system or Moodle, I think we are trying to create and train the teachers. But I think what we are losing as for the B school is concerned, because most of when I was director of the B school, I think B school learn these all things in a physical mode. The kind of interaction happens when group discussions or the presentation happens in the class or a group activity happens. I think that we are missing, because when you are somewhere away from each other in 100, 200 miles, I think that interaction. So we need to encourage the peer learning, first of all, which has a less portion. We need to encourage the group learning, as we are doing some FDPs on the case learning in asynchronous mode. We were teaching that how you can engage student. The word which I'm going to use, I think may not be useful or may not be liked, but I think entertainment also we have to create the value of entertainment, because if I'm learning, giving some video to the student, I think it's a boring, monotonous. If I'm talking for half an hour, student will go to bed bored. So I think we have to see that there are kind of small videos which are available. So we have requested all faculty members to prepare concept videos for 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, and see that how the student give response to them. So let them run it to their student, let the students respond. So what we are planning to tell faculty members, that your concept, make small things, get it to the student in asynchronous mode. And when you are in synchronous mode, I think you can have discussions. You cannot have teaching like in a classroom teaching, when students are apart from each other. The bandwidth issue, electricity issue, the battery issue will be also there, because if I'm using a mobile phone or a tab, I think after 2 hours, it may go drain if a video is on. So many challenging things are there. So we have to make all combination to see that student learning becomes on. I think students should not be get outdated, but he is not left out in the teaching learning process. So that is the way we are trying that he should be actively participating in using this kind of technologies in synchronous or asynchronous mode. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Kalkar. You raised a lot of valid points, especially about creating asynchronous content. I think that is something that a lot of faculty members probably might have hesitance to doing. But, it's like everything else. This is the new world. You got to try it, right? So, again, I wanted to thank you for bringing that out. And in that course that I shared, there is material on how to create best practices around asynchronous. We can't cover all of that today. But please do check that out. There is material that we've put together on what are best practices in creating asynchronous content if you have not seen it. And the whole flipped classroom approach, as you said, share the content first. The conceptual videos, don't try to teach it in this one-on-one session. You share it up front, let people watch it. And when you come for your live sessions, let it be more about engagement, group activities. You can create group breakout rooms. You can put them in a small group, give them activities, do polls, do engagement, and so on. Absolutely, it makes sense. The other point I also wanted to talk about there is around proctored exams. It is not foolproof, but there is technology for that. To do proctored exams, you can have live streams and so on. But on that note, I have a question. I'm going to mix this a little bit based on what I had said earlier. But I'd like to ask this to Dr. Sundar, in fact, because you said that you did these assessments and you published results, you've in fact declared results and enabled students to get jobs at companies. So can you talk a little bit about specifically how did you do those assessments? What did you actually, how did you, let's say, ensure the authenticity of what the students did? Because that keeps coming up in terms of making it fair for all the parties. So I'd like to know that. If you could just talk about that in a couple of minutes, and then we'll wrap up with Dr. Biswal after that.
So already I informed that so we had some kind of challenges conducting of assessment, online assessment. We have tie-up with Metal. So we collaborated with Metal. It's an online assessment company. So initially for particular conduct of end semester examination only. But anyway, before conducting, so we had faced a lot of challenges. We have to give intensive training to the faculty as well as the student. But anyway, a few hiccups here and there, but anyway, we could able to manage. But we scheduled the examination probably 20 days after the training. So we had given training for 14 days intensively for the student. We conducted some mock kind of examination. So as well as we also conducted model examination through this kind of proctoring. So students somewhat we get to give the orientation to the student as well as the faculty member. So then after the period of gap 15 to 20 days, then we conducted. So but anyway, rightly pointed out by fellow panelists, a lot of issues are happening regarding of connectivity. So regarding of the students are not, the thing is, if they are not used for that proctoring and a lot of other. So again, we have conducted a retest and somewhat we manage and we complete the examination. So now our management is trying to have full-fledged, anyway, if we started the academic year in the month of August, right from beginning, we are planning to go for proctoring kind of examination, right from all assessment will be the proctor kind of thing. So student will be oriented towards that. And so we are also looking of some other good edutech startups or edutech companies. So we'll come forward. So thing is now this kind of proctoring, one challenge what we are facing is, so now it is not applicable to mobile. So they have to use for the laptop. So already pointed out by one of the panelists, now our students are more used to that mobile phones rather than laptop. So if you insist that you have to take up examination only on the laptop, they said that it's a non-availability of device. So we are not having device of laptop. So we have only of mobile. Even they have laptop also, they are not coming out with the information. Sir, we have only mobile. If your software or application will be run in mobile, then it will be easy.
Got it.
It suit for all devices. Even it will be suit for tablet or it is suit for mobile or laptop. So then we could able to convince the student to come out with that. So some kind of challenges we faced regarding of this. So one point I want to insist that now machines are learning very fast and humans are unlearning. So this is a situation where we are. But anyway, so in future as a technology company, all technological innovation is coming out very fast. But anyway, we will see that how technology will conquer in the future, especially for the educational industry. So this is a first step we begin with, like kind of proctoring, and so a lot of other challenges has happened. So one good news is that Google is invested, Geo, they come out with a lot of devices to reach out the rural student. So there is once if we talk about online teaching or online education, there is a lot of inequality and injustice, because only it is touched up to rural, urban and city-based institution. So other 60% of rural student, it is not reached to that. So anyway, as part of the technology company, see, at the earliest you have to innovate some kind of devices, low cost devices, which should reach to the all rural. Again, intensive training to be given. So a lot of market scope is available. So we are looking forward that type of device. So it should reach to not only for the city based or the urban based, it should reach to the rural community also.
Got it.
So anyway, that is one point. Another point is, anyway, if rightly pointed out, so last academic year, at the end of the academic semester only, we immediately 100% we switch over to the online. So at the end only, but I think now this time from the beginning onwards, we are planning to move with the online. So we are well planned and we are well prepared, so that we can see that how extent we can do it very effectively, not only for taking classes, even for assessment.
Got it. Thank you, Dr. Sundar. I hope it's okay for the panelists. Can you stay for about 10 minutes after this? Is that okay? Because I think we are running a little bit over, so I hope that's okay. I think I have not gotten to the audience questions yet. So we'll just a couple of minutes, Dr. Biswal. This is one question I think it's on everybody's mind, which is that, in the physical classroom, you may be teaching for 60 or 100 hours. What does that actually translate to in an online class? Are you still going to do 60 or 100 hours, or do you do something differently there?
I think Dr. Saxena has already answered that question. What happens in typical in management education, one course load works out to be 100 hours of engagement, basically. So in 100 hours of engagement, if it has practical sessions, then the contact hours goes to be say around 40 hours, and if it doesn't have practical application, the contact hours is around 30 hours. And rest is self-study, assignments, and all those things. I think that is quite possible in online mode, and we are running it quite comfortably. If only thing is, you have to win over Google. If you give assignments where informations are easily available in Google platform, then that will devalue the particular assignment, and they will happily come out with simple answers. But you have to be a bit tricky. You have to be a bit tricky in terms of giving assignments. The only advantage you have in a classroom when you give assignment or inside the college atmosphere, you have a controlled atmosphere. You know that malpractice is not possible. So now you have to be a bit smarter. Like someone also was asking in the chat box, I replied that can we go for an open book kind of examination? Definitely, that is one thing we should look at, because that throws a challenge to us as an academician, that how smart we are in terms of setting questions. Set some questions that even in open book, the guy has to really work hard to reply. So things are changing. Contact hours also will change, because when it is physical and when it is virtual, things are a bit different. So we have to see least contact hours and more of, engagement time. Like that synchronous and asynchronous differentiation of the courses is required. It will be a challenge, and I think academicians will evolve with solution very soon.
Yeah, got it. So what I'll do is I've looked through most of the chat questions. See, there were questions around how to engage, how many hours to do online. So I think many of those things that we covered, especially with engagement, I think we covered enough of that. In terms of Dr. Kalkar talking about the entertaining aspect, I think that is there. Dr. Saxena talked about, dealing with other distractions that they have and the dress code. So we covered all of that. So I'm not going to go back and address them. But there is something else that I wanted to talk about here, which I think is from Professor Hari Prasad Soma, who was asking about Swayam. How good is Swayam? I think maybe Dr. Kalkar, you may be able to talk about this. Can that be fully leveraged? Is there, for your classroom education? for your online education? As you said, is that mapping fully there, or can you rely on that? And as a related question, for example, it's kind of relevant to us as well. We've created private companies like Coursera, Great Learning. We've got a lot of content that we've created. Now, can our content be substituted because you said that there is not enough content like that faculty have created, but we've been creating content in some areas. Of course, we don't have content in physics and chemistry, but in some areas we do have. Can that be substituted for some of your online delivery?
Arjun, is the right question. That what we are thinking is Swayam is a one platform, I think. And the courses which is created is not in tune with the kind of syllabus we have. Because the people who have created, they are created with their own motives, own ideology of teaching students something. We are trying to map it with that, but we should not be restricted. What we are talking in a blended learning is you can pick up any course. But the evaluation pattern, even with Swayam also what we are doing it, because otherwise teacher will become redundant. If we rely everything on Swayam, I think the teaching or videos of some portion of the Swayam or this online platform can be picked up as a part of course curriculum, so that the same content cannot be repeatedly created. But the evaluation part of conduction part can be done by the teacher who is the class teacher or the subject teacher. So we can make combination, and we all should be open. We should not do repetition in content, creating a content, because the student number is very huge in our country. So I think we must try using all possible content which are available of good quality, which will support and help the student. Because I cannot create 100% content, because we are running 300 plus courses in our university. So we can't create a content which takes 5 years time from now. So we can pick up the best content which are available, who can be done by anybody with the permission. And then teacher can blend it with because question answer can be created or quizzes can be created by the teacher on that content. And then evaluation can be done by the independent teacher, because every course has different kind of evaluation. Every university has different pattern. So evaluation part can be taken by the teacher, and the content can be used with the permission and with the license of all content which are available globally. So I think that is more useful, because it's an opportunity for all of us to use all this content, because you are using, everybody is doing some good content. They're not being used so properly because they're not part of the curriculum, because we were in the physical mode with the student.
Yeah.
1 minute, I would like to tell you that we are at a university, we have one radio station. So right now what we are doing is creating awareness about the corona and all these things, using 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the afternoon, 15 minutes in the evening, to everybody who has that radio thing. And even our Honorable Vice Chancellor is trying to have one channel for the higher education in the state of Maharashtra, where we are going to use all the teachers in the Maharashtra. Because for single college or single university teachers, it is very difficult to deliver a complete curriculum online. So we can, collaboration is most important, I think. I think this platform can bring in. So we can have collaboration, we can use multiple tools and technology and make it available. I think this is a temporary phase, maybe 6 months. This 2020 completely will go in struggling with all kind of technology. But sooner or later, as we become very easy with the using PowerPoint or using case studies, when it has come from IIM and all these things. So we'll also become comfortable. Teacher will not be replaced, but teacher can use these all tools to make teaching and learning process more effective. And I think it was going slower. I think some of the universities were using it very promptly, but everybody may not be using. I think for everybody now, it is a compulsion, need of the hour to use this kind of technology and tools to make that the students come in the mainstream of the teaching learning process, even they are not physically present in the campus. And the last point I would like to make, we cannot replace the kind of campus atmosphere we students enjoy, because every university or every college has got that campus kind of feel is there. There are a lot of clubs, activities. I think basically in the B school model, we know that there are a lot of activities, student-driven activities, where a lot of learning, practical learning happens. I think right now we do not have any alternative to that kind of campus life. SRM University has got good campus life. I have seen in so many universities have got good campus life. They have clubs, they have boat clubs, and they have so many activities, sports activities. This all is ultimately coming to the learning of the students, understanding a human being when you are going to deal in future. So I think that we may be missing. It cannot be replaced right now. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you. So I think there was a question here on attendance. We already talked about it. There are tools that can automatically, like for example, in our tool also, we automatically capture attendance for the live sessions. You can allocate a grade to the attendance. All of those things are already in place. So you can do that according to criteria. If you need more details, you can write to us, and we can talk more about how that can be done. So I won't discuss that with the panel. To Dr. Sundar specifically, there is a question here, and in fact, I'm asking specifically to you because you said that SRM as a university has been doing a lot of traditional online learning for a long time.
Yes.
So there is this question here on if somebody completes a course online, will that be recognized by the outside world for purposes of job recognition like a normal degree? So I think people are, it's a question, is that real, right? So what do you think of that?
So that is my question also. So that's my discussion. I throw in a light on that. So whether there isn't a difference, online education as well as online teaching, there isn't a difference. So now we are talking about online teaching for the mainstream. It's like those are entered into undergraduate or postgraduate. So usually that online education happens in the mid-level career. So those are having 30 to 40 years, they could not able to attend the regular university degree. They can enroll themselves to upgrade themselves for the next level of position. So once any student after completing of school education, they will enroll as an online education as an undergraduate for the mainstream. So that is in a debatable whether the industry will accept that online education. In future, definitely the industry or the employer will accept the online education as a mainstream education. So now that is the impact of technology is going to be happen down the line another 5 years. So even they will consider both online education as well as the regular mainstream of education as equal. So once if you have skill set is to play the vital role to become as a successful or not successful. So not the degree, not in which mode you are receive the degree, either the mainstream the university degree or you will receive through the online education. But if you have the right skill set, you can able to grab the offer, unless otherwise, even if you have mainstream university degree also, if you are not have the skill set, then there is no use.
Yeah.
So definitely that will play the very vital role.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, sir. So basically, from a student's perspective, I think there's another question here kind of related to that lack of motivation from students. So I think the point is if they are trying to get a job at the end of it, have a career, then they should be motivated. But of course, there would be some that are not. I think we'll wrap up, maybe just 2 last questions. I'll set it up and then we'll wrap up. So on that, Dr. Saxena, in this question around lack of motivation, and you spoke about this, there are issues with serious students who want a certain experience. You spoke to me about that. And there are some bad actors in the class who are just looking at about it from fun and games perspective. So how do you deal with that challenge? In the class, you can be harsh, you can ask them to leave. What are you doing online specifically when there is a set of students who want to study and there's a set of students who just want to create trouble?
Yeah. I think, Arjun, the students who there is a very strong silent majority, I will say, who is very serious about studies. Now that majority is the one that we need to activate, and we need to once you activate them, then they will take care of the class discipline as well. Coming to students' motivation and for the job readiness, this is the time when a lot of industry academia relationship is required. And when the people come from the industry and when they talk about it, because industry is also going through the same crisis as we are going through the academic this. So when industry comes and talks and they say that, look, we will be hiring, but I am going to be very particular about the quality that I'm hiring. So there is going to be competition. The industry is definitely going to be assessing students. Either they give them conditional offers or they start giving them internships. And then they say that if you do well in the internship, I will confirm you or I'll regularize you or formalize your appointment. When they hear from the industry, definitely the students then start taking things seriously, because yes, when the organization says, I'm going to start my process from November, you have time for another 2 months. You better get serious about your studies, whichever mode of teaching it is. Now, the industry is still not began to, they've not underrated the online learning. So they're not saying that, we are not going, no, we don't have any data to back it up, that, okay, how industry is going to behave, because this is the first batch which is going to be rolling out, through this kind of, the online, this thing. But industry is definitely not running down the platform, or they are not saying that we are not going to recognize it. They do understand. So they are saying that, yes, we will be having different ways of assessing students. We would be looking at quality, and perhaps that's where they're bringing in the element of internship. So they're saying that we will take you for 6 months, 3 months, and then, we will see how you behave there. So, and my message to my faculty internally is also, don't roll out too many new initiatives. Can we go with a little, don't go on that 100% syllabus coverage spree, that no, I need to complete my 33 sessions, and all my 33 sessions must take care of the, the portions which I'm supposed to cover. Can you go a little slow? Give time to that student, to mature with that, the online platform, and he needs to arrive at some bit of mastery over the online platform. So you give him that kind of time. Don't rush the syllabus. Use all the tools that are available, whether it is the pen tab or the whiteboard, or, whatever platforms which are available. You use all that, and don't do, I'll use the word that ghas kaatu kaam nahi karna. You spend time on, on those concepts or those cognitive learning that, we are focusing on. But yeah, not the 100%, but do a good job of 70% syllabus coverage.
Got it.
So this
yeah. Got it. Thank you, Dr. Saxena. So last question, and then let's wrap it up. This is to Dr. Biswal for you, sir. There's a question here from, I think this is Professor Smita, who's asking about how do you plan the calendar year in the current scenario? So I think this is just from a strategic perspective. How are you going to plan the calendar year? There is not more detail, so I think we'll have to infer what we can from it. But basically, how are you going to plan the calendar year?
I can understand from where she's coming, because calendar year for any academician is a very strict thing which we always used to follow. The first thing I have to tell now is, like, lot of people has to come out of lot of innovations. So we also have to come out from the fixed calendar mode to a dynamic calendar. Because when you are relying on technology, you can see in the last 1 hour, 10 minutes when we have interacted also, there were technical snacks. So when you have snacks, there is a loss of time. When you have a loss of time, there is a downtime. So that will lead to a different. So we should be a bit flexible at this stage while preparing calendar. With a dynamic calendar, you start, accommodating, because you are working from home. You may extend, working on weekends also, because your effective working per day is also going down. That is one way of adjusting it. And at the same time, physically, I was finishing my session by this time. Let's have a buffer of this much, say a week or 2 weeks. If there is any downtime, whether I will be able to cover it or not. So to start with, because we are at a very nascent stage of online teaching. So to start with, we all have to be first dynamic. So if you ask me calendar has to be dynamic with a flexibility of 10 to 20%. I think if you have 20% flexibility, I think that will solve the purpose.
So yeah, thank you to all the panelists for, thank you Dr. Biswal for that answer, and to all the other panelists for all your valuable insight. I know that there were some questions that we could not get to, but that's always, we have to optimize the time that we have. So please do, check out the course. It's free. You can go there. You can write to us, and then if you have questions, we can try to answer them. I wanted to thank you again to all the panelists for your valuable insights. Thank you for being on it, for sharing your knowledge and your experience, and for, in some ways, paving the way for a lot of other institutions to follow. So appreciate your time, and thank you to all the audience for coming and joining us, and for Business Standard for organizing. Thank you very much for your time, and have a good evening.
Yeah, thank you very much, Arjun sir.
Thank you.
On behalf of Business Standard, I would like to thank all the audience, all the faculty members for coming here and joining us for this session. In a special way, I thank our distinguished speakers for the day, Arjun sir, Kriti ma'am, Kelkar sir, Biswal sir, and Sundar sir. I thank you very much for coming and sharing your knowledge and expertise on this topic. I'm sure all the participants must have benefited out of it, and I'm sure they will get take something home and use it in their teaching, and definitely the students will benefit out of it. Thank you very much, and all the best to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.